Welcome in, Oklahoma Sooners fans and college football fans. Welcome into Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. This is Oklahoma Sooners Live here on the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Josh Mahler. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Real Josh Mahler to keep up with everything here on the show and so much more, all of the other coverage that I do for the Oklahoma Sooners and much more. So go check that out. And of course, follow the Voice of College Football on social media. That's at the VOCFB. All of that's down at the bottom of the screen. Check that out. Follow Voice of College Football on social media to keep up with all things in college football. It's really the best place to go if you're interested in any specific team. They've got just about every channel that you need for that. If they don't have your channel, they do have a main channel that you can check out everything where Mark actually goes over all kinds of things, just everything college football, keeps you up to date with everything in the league. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live, make sure to jump in the live chat. I will get to the live chat later on and make sure to say what's up to all of you in the live chat. If you do leave a donation, any kind of super chat, then that comment will be read 100% on the show. So jump in that live chat. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, give us a 5-star review over there. That helps us grow tremendously. And if you don't listen over there, just take a quick minute, go over there real quick, do that. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe. Those are two quick and easy ways, free ways for you to support the show. But I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in tonight. We're going to get into Oklahoma's defensive strengths, their key players, and so much more when we dive into the 2025 football season. But before we do, of course, I want to kind of recap real quick. I know this is a college football show, but recap, maybe not even much of a recap, but just mention what happened this past weekend with the Oklahoma Sooners, I guess yesterday now, for both baseball and softball. Both Diamond Sports closed out their season. And I don't want this to go completely unnoticed. Of course, I think a lot of Oklahoma media is trying to kind of say the same thing without making it sound biased. But this was an incredible accomplishment for Patty Gasso and the Oklahoma Sooners softball team as they made it all the way to the semifinals and lost against two really good teams. Texas, really good team. They put a lot of pressure on Oklahoma, and they ended up pulling it out, getting their first College World Series win against Oklahoma. So Oklahoma lost there, and then of course, but just everything that went into this. I think 9 freshmen, is that right? 14 new players, something like that. Just everything that went into the Diamond Sports, specifically right now with softball. That was an incredible season for them. They deserve praise from Oklahoma fans, and I think that's exactly what they've gotten. But then even the baseball team, I've had the privilege of being able to cover the baseball team, going down and actually delivering, doing actual coverage with the team, getting a little bit closer to the team. Huge shout out to the entire staff, the players, everyone involved for really a great season. It was an exciting season. I think. Man, it felt like for most of the season, there was a lot of very high hopes and good reason for those high hopes throughout the baseball season. And so congratulations to the team. I know it sucks to go out when you fought so hard to get to the point where that you were, and really just only one win away from possibly hosting a super regional in Norman. That would have been huge for the program, huge for the team, for the players, for the university. So, it was a great outing for them to be able to fight back after getting just it felt like no hope against getting completely dominated against North Carolina. It felt like no hope for the rest of that regional, and to turn that around late in that game, put up 5 runs in that first game against North Carolina, and then come out against Nebraska and perform even better than you did the first time that you beat Nebraska, and whoop them 17-1, and having to go against North Carolina for a second game of the day. What was that, on Sunday? So 2 games on Sunday. You wake up, get ready in the morning, and you go out for an early game, 11 a.m. Central Time, and go out there and perform really well, extremely well, dominate the Cornhuskers, who are a pesky team, and especially their pitching, and completely shut them out. Not shut out, I guess, but you shut them down, dominate there, and then come out and have the kind of performance that you did against North Carolina in the second game against them. And of course, I think a mix of fatigue, And then on top of that, just the fact that you didn't really have that lean on guy in the pitching staff to go to in that game. And that's ultimately what did it for the Sooners. You can come up with all kinds of excuses if you want, but it was still a great season, a great performance from them all season long. They started off extremely hot, one of the best teams in the country, had the longest winning streak for a long time, active winning streak for a long time. And so, it was a great season. And so, congratulations to both Diamond Sports for uh, yeah, I mean, ultimately, great seasons from both of them. I don't care what anyone says. So, Oklahoma fans have a lot to be excited about when it comes down to it, for the Oklahoma Sooners and both Diamond Sports. But I know you came to this channel for college football, so we will dive into college football. I do more coverage on baseball, Diamond Sports, basketball, all that kind of stuff over on Sooner Spotlight. If you want to give that a check, and follow over there as well. But let's dive into it, because really 2025 is going to be an interesting season for Oklahoma and for this football team, and a lot of Oklahoma fans, a lot of media personnel, a lot of people in the media. They're all kind of talking about this being a do or die season for Brent Venables, and I think in many scenarios, I think that could be the case. And I also see a lot of those same scenarios playing out where Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners do not have a great season or even a good season. I think a lot of fans feel like an 8-win season is a must before he's out the door. Some even feel like 9 or 10 is a must before he's out the door. But I think reasonable thinkers think that 8 wins is what Brent Venables has to reach before he's just completely booted out the door. Others may be kind of on the 7, and I do think if he were to get only 6 wins, barely make a bowl, that seat is extremely hot. And I can understand why Sooner fans and other media looking in, even just random college football fans, look at Brent Venables in his situation and realize that he is on the hot seat. And I get it. I do agree. I think even Brent Venables knows that he's on the hot seat. He feels like that's going to help him perform better this season, and specifically with the defense, of course. And we'll even talk about him taking over the roles there, and how he's shifted a lot. And this has been, to my recollection, outside of coaching changes, which, if we back up to Bob Stoops over to Lincoln Riley, that transition didn't even feel as big as this current transition from getting rid of the offensive staff the way that it was set up last season, and transforming that, and then transforming the defense, because, with everything that's gone there, this feels like a huge transition, which should be a bad thing. If we're being totally honest, that should be a bad thing. That should be something that we're looking at and we're feeling kind of down on as Oklahoma fans, but we're feeling extremely optimistic because, first, the offense can't get any worse than it was last season. We know that. Oklahoma fans know that. And so the Sooners offense has to be better, but specifically today, talking about the defense, I don't think the defense can get much better than they were last year. I think any team in the nation would have been totally happy with Oklahoma's defense last year. And really, I would say a top 10 defense last year. I know that they weren't statistically, but just because of how many times their backs were put against the wall. And so, scores against the defense, how do you really rank that when the offense was just turning the ball over at an extremely high rate? Even just there's a lot of that, and even just wearing the defense down by quick 3 and outs. So that happened all the time last season. So really kind of going back to that 2024 defense and seeing their success, I think that's why Oklahoma fans feel good, because there's not a whole lot that left. There are some key pieces that left of that defense, but overall that defense, it was one of the best defenses that Oklahoma's had in a long time. In fact, that was the best defensive efficiency, the SP, I believe that's what it is, SP plus ranking, the best that they've had, overall defensive efficiency, the best that they've had since 2013. It's been a long time since Oklahoma's seen a physical and disruptive defense the way that they were last season. And that makes Oklahoma fans feel like, why can't we keep that going this season? So, and I think that's totally correct, and honestly, you look throughout the 3 years of Brent Venables' tenure, it has gotten better season after season. And a lot might say that, yeah, you had key pieces, and we'll talk about those. But this defense really has gotten so much better. It ranked 16th nationally in total defense last year, a significant improvement from 49th in 2023, which also was a huge jump from the season before. In looking at the scoring defense, they only allowed 21 and a half points per game, which, again, I don't know how much you blame on the defense for that because of the situations that they were put in. But that was 32nd nationally, up from 41st in 2023. So, again, a huge jump for this defense last season in the 2024 season. You look at how many times they were able to sack and get pressure. For a long time I think all the way through the month of October, leading the SEC in sacks per game, and being able to get back there and showcasing their disruptive pass rush and how physical they were, specifically in the trenches. By the season's end, they had over 30 sacks, and with players like Danny Stutzman and Ethan Downs showcasing how good they were. Grayson Halton, there's some amazing returning players. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's hard not to when we're talking about this defense. Takeaways, they ranked tied for 6th in fumbles taken away, 36th in the nation for takeaways on defense. These are some really good numbers, and this team is a team that wants to set up the offense in plus territory as often as possible. It's a team that tries to get that ball and take it away. You see so many times where sometimes this hurts you, but so many times where Oklahoma defenders, specifically linebackers, coming up behind a player and trying to, chop down at the ball, tomahawk down at that ball and pop it out and pop it free. This is the disruptive defense that we saw from Oklahoma a season ago. Diving into it and talking about Brent Venables and his new defensive staff mix up, the change around, him taking over, that's a big part. He wants to take full control of this defense. And when Zach Alley ended up leaving, he went to West Virginia. We can talk about what that was all about. Why would you go to West Virginia over Oklahoma? And there's some discussion there. I think partially taking on a bigger role. Obviously, money plays into it. There's a lot that went into that. But Zach Alley, Oklahoma fans loved him. He was a young guy, personable with the players, personable even with the fan base, and the fan base liked him as well because of how much he reminded them of a younger Brent Venables. Even sounded exactly like them if you were to close your eyes in press conferences. But anyways, Zach Alley leaves, goes to West Virginia, and Oklahoma's kind of left here scratching their heads thinking, man, what's going to happen to this defense? This defense that was one of the best in the nation last year. You ultimately have to recognize that Oklahoma had a top 25 defense, which is incredibly good. And really, even anytime that you're above in the top 40, in my opinion, you've got a good defense. You're looking solid if you're in the top 40. You've got a defense that you can work with and that you can win championships with if you're in the top 40. Top 25, you're talking like this is elite defense. And ultimately, I think most people would agree that that's what Oklahoma had last season in 2024. And so what happens when Zach Alley leaves? Of course, going after Jim Knowles, trying to get him from Ohio State. Ultimately, Penn State ends up throwing the bag at him and getting him over there. So Oklahoma loses out on that. But instead of trying to go out and get the next best guy, Brent Venables says, okay, well, if I can't have the best, then I'm just going to do it myself. Because who do I trust more than myself? Nobody. Brent Venables didn't even trust Zach Alley as much as himself. He gave him the reins on a lot of what was going on with the defense, but he didn't trust Zach Alley more than he does himself calling defense. And I think anyone would be crazy if they did trust someone else with their own team than themselves. And so, of course, Brent Venables, we know the defensive mastermind that he is, being with Oklahoma from the 99 through 2011 season. Is that right? Because I know for up until 03, he was just a co-defensive coordinator and transitioned to an assistant head coach, along with being the full-time defensive coordinator, and then on top of that, also the linebackers coach from 04 to 11, and then in 2012, I believe that's the year that he went over to Clemson and joins Clemson to become a defensive coordinator, And of course, there was a lot more that went into that departure, but defensive coordinator with them. And then right around the 17, 18, 19 season, somewhere in there, is when he took over as an assistant head coach and still controlling the defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, all the way through, what would that be, 2021, when Brent Venables came back to Oklahoma. So, I mean, and Brent Venables has national championships under his belt as a defensive coordinator, even as the co-defensive coordinator with Oklahoma. So, looking at Brent Venables and what he's able to do on the defensive side of the ball, we don't have any questions. But the question would be, in this scenario, can he balance being a head coach and taking on all those duties while being the defensive coordinator, while trying to coordinate this defense and get them under control and make sure that they're still top tier, that they're still this elite defense that we saw a season ago from these Oklahoma Sooners. That question is out there, and I totally understand why anyone would question whether he's going to be able to juggle all of this, because it's a lot. One thing that I think we can throw out there as a little bit of confidence for Oklahoma fans is that he's got to juggle the head coaching position as well as being a defensive coordinator, but he doesn't have as many duties as a head coach now that we've hired Jim Nagy and what he's been able to do. And the staff that Jim Nagy has put together with helping in recruiting, and helping in NIL deals, and helping in retention, and helping with the defensive, or sorry, not the defensive, but just the coaching staff. There's a lot that Jim Nagy is doing behind the scenes that has taken a lot of pressure off of Brent Venables. And Brent Venables has even talked about this. Jim Nagy it has expressed how much he wants to help the coaching staff and take all the pressure off them as much as he possibly can. And so I think that helps a lot, being able to take on this Oklahoma's role of defensive coordinator while still trying to be a head coach. Also, Brent Venables got a new linebackers coach to help him out, which takes away having to be the linebackers guy. And of course, I know Zach Alley did quite a bit of that, but Brent Venables does not have to be as directly hands-on with the linebackers. He can step away, be head coach there, come in as defensive coordinator when they're as a team. There's a lot that he can do. And so he ended up bringing Nate Drilling in, who I think will be a very good fit, came from New Mexico, and I think he's going to be a good fit. He's already had some good looks in the recruiting so far. We'll see what he's able to do as we get further on down the road. Also, Wes Goodwin is also helping as linebackers coach, and he was Brent Venables' co-defensive coordinator at Clemson. That's the connection there. And so, we can put a lot of faith in Wes Goodwin and Nate Drilling kind of helping out there. And, the big thing that I think is the biggest question is how much this staff chemistry with everything that's shifted around, how all of that's going to fit. But then also, how is Oklahoma going to recover from losing guys like Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman, Ethan Downs? These are just those three guys alone were big parts of this defense. And again, I think that's the part that Oklahoma fans would worry the most about this defense. I don't think anyone really worries about Brent Venables being able to call plays on defense. They do worry a little bit about how well is he going to be able to juggle it, and that's one concern. But is he going to be able to fill in those roles? So that's where we jump in and we kind of go over to some of the transfers, the defensive additions, and just ultimately just the defense as a whole and what they bring to the table. First, Marvin Jones Jr., a former five-star edge that came from Florida State, transferred into Oklahoma. He's an explosive pass rusher. That's the guy that I would pick to be the one. And there's really not been a lot of talking about Marvin Jones Jr. this offseason, much at all. And it's really shocked me. And I hope it stays that way. So maybe I'll just shut my mouth. But I do think that he would be the replacement for Ethan Downs. I think he would be the guy to come in there and be that edge, that the kind of the glue that holds that edge piece together on one side. And then, of course, you've got R. Mason Thomas on the other side. You've got the cheetahs that we've got in the backfield, like Kendall Dolby, and another one that we actually brought in from Oklahoma State, Kendall Daniels. So two KDs, two Kendalls. And Kendall Daniels coming in kind of a versatile safety linebacker. That cheetah role is really what he plays, but I've heard a lot of different variations of what he could play with guys like Danny Okoye, or sorry, not Danny Okoye, Sammy Osamigo, and I'm probably butchering his last name because I don't have it in front of me. But there's a whole lot of guys with Kendall Dolby. Want to make sure I don't mix up the Kendalls that could play in that cheetah role and force. I mean, you could possibly have a really weird and strong look with having Kendall Dolby and Kendall Daniels out there kind of in that same role and transitioning, kind of switching back and forth. I don't know. This is all kind of speculation, but there's a lot that comes in with adding a guy like Kendall Daniels to that linebacker slash safety role. Again, more like that cheetah role. That's what they call it here in the Brent Venables system. And so the versatility of what we get out of Kendall Daniels, that's what I really like. A lot of speed. He's got some size, and that could help a little bit with that Danny Stutzman role, as well as helping and solidify that cheetah role with Kendall Dolby, and then even Sammy over there as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think Kendall Daniels was a huge pickup. I think that's one that will be overlooked until the season comes and people will be like, hey, why didn't we talk about this more in the offseason? Because I really do think that he has the potential of being that big time, that big presence with a lot of skill, that big physical presence with a lot of speed. So I think there's a lot there. So see another one that I guess just going into the defensive strength as a whole, because there's really not a whole lot more as far as transfers that come to the top of my mind. But you look at Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton, Jaden Jackson, David Stone, Danny Okoye, R. Mason Thomas, now adding Marvin Jones Jr. I mean, just thinking about the disruptive force that we've got here at Oklahoma on the defensive line. I mean, that is a crazy deep defensive line with guys like Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton, Jaden Jackson, Danny Stone. I mean, all those guys kind of play more on that inside role. Danny Okoye, R. Mason Thomas, and then you've got Marvin Jones Jr. now coming in. You've got guys on the inside and outside stacked up. And I'm probably missing a few too. I didn't really go through the roster to really remind myself exactly who is on this team. But that's one position on that defensive line where games in the SEC and in college football as a whole are won and lost right there in the trenches. Oklahoma wins 10 out of 10. Oklahoma wins. Best defensive line in the nation. I don't know. I think deserving of top 10. In my mind, top 5, top 3, but that's just because I really haven't dove into all of the other teams' defensive lines and what they have out there to stack up. But I mean, Oklahoma has just got dudes up on the front 7. So, I mean, you have to look at what Oklahoma's got up in the front in the trenches and be extremely excited about that. But as far as Stutzman, how do you replace Danny Stutzman? I don't think you do. I really don't. I don't think there's a way to replace Danny Stutzman and everything that he was, but you can get guys going in together with guys like R. Mason Thomas, Robert Spears Jennings, Kip Lewis. So Kip Lewis will be that Danny Stutzman role, most likely. He will be the guy that steps into that role, at least on the defensive side of the ball. But as far as so he would fit that on the field role, but as far as leadership, I think Kip plays into that as well as R. Mason Thomas, Robert Spears Jennings, and these other guys that I mentioned, just because I think all of them kind of help with that leadership role. So it's going to take multiple guys to lead the way that Danny Stutzman led, because he led on the field. He was a force on the field, and he was a leader in the locker room and off the field. So there's just so much. You can't replace that. So I think that's a lot, and it's not going to be replaced, but it can by one guy is what I mean. It's not going to be. Danny Stutzman will not be replaced by one guy, but he can be replaced by a multitude of guys stepping into that role together and helping each other. So ultimately, I think when you look at guys going back to the transfers with guys like Marvin Jones Jr. and Kendall Daniels being transferred into this defense, I think Oklahoma has a lot to look forward to when you talk about stacking the box, stopping the run, setting the tone and being physical. Those are your guys that you're looking at, and Oklahoma will be just fine there. So I don't think we have a whole lot of questions about whether this Oklahoma defense is going to be good or talented, especially when you look at that front seven. The one that raises concerns for the Oklahoma Sooners might be cornerbacks. You look at that cornerback room, and I'm a little concerned for it. I wouldn't say worried. I wouldn't say, I don't know. Maybe skeptical is the right word. Just because Oklahoma has struggled in the past, and specifically in recent years, Oklahoma's DB room has been banged up. Last season, we saw Eli Bowen step onto the scene. Phenomenal freshman season, and we have total faith in him. But who's really going to be able to step up? Because there were some inconsistencies there, and we probably know who. I'll throw out the name because he's not with Oklahoma anymore. Kenai Walker, uh, a liability at times. There was a couple of others, and off the top of my head, I can't think of specific plays where others would kind of be inconsistent at times, and it was just it was a problem for Oklahoma. That was the one room, which is kind of ironic. I was listening to Chad and Tierney last night. They were talking with TJ, kind of going over the Michigan matchup and previewing that one. And I think Chad mentioned that he was excited, thinking that Oklahoma would have the best cornerback room in the nation. I just don't see it. I think there was a lot of inconsistencies last season, and you're going to have guys having to step up into that role this season. We do have Eli Bowen, and he did bring up Gentry Williams. Chad did. He brought up Gentry Williams, who could be the best cornerback in the nation if he's healthy all season. But it's if he's healthy, and I'm just not sure. I'm skeptical about the injuries. That's one that Oklahoma fans were burnt very, very badly last season. So little worried about health there on the defensive side of the ball. But you do have to think about guys that could be breakout candidates over there in that cornerback room. You got Jacoby Johnson, who didn't get a whole lot of time. We thought maybe he might switch over and play a little bit of wide receiver. We didn't really see that. And what can he do? I mean, he's a tall, lanky guy, athletic guy. I think he's really capable of being that breakout guy, as well as Jaden Hardy, another guy that I think we saw a little bit of last season, and quite a bit of good reps from him as well. So there's another guy that you can feel pretty good about. And Jeremiah Newcomb, I'm hearing a lot of buzz around him from spring, and so I'd like to see what he's able to do. Who's going to be that next breakout corner? If we have one more breakout corner, the way that Eli broke out last season, Eli was like, we know that he's talented, but he's not going to get very many reps. Then some inconsistencies and injuries forced him into that role where he's getting more reps. And the more that we saw, the more we loved him, and the more he's making big plays, squeezing through on a little wide receiver screen, wide receiver bubble out there, and busting through and picking that ball off and taking it back. That's the kind of stuff that you saw from Eli. Who's going to be that next cornerback on defense to step up in 2025? Because I think there's guys that are capable. There's guys that I think are very much capable of being that guy to break out in the corner room, but who's actually going to do it? And so I do have some concerns there about who might replace that. And then, of course, replacing Billy Bowman. We talked about Danny Stutzman at the linebacker role. And of course, I think with that heart of the defense, I'm not sure if you can even call out one linebacker that we have on the Oklahoma roster that would be able to do as much as Danny did just on the field alone. Just because, I mean, if you go back and look at plays from last season with Danny prior to the snap, he's tapping guys on the back and letting them know what's coming, or hey, shift over left, shift over right, watch out for this, watch out for that. I don't know if anyone has that kind of an IQ. I think Kip Lewis could work on it, and we could see that out of him, and it would surprise us by how much he has improved. I don't know. I'm just not hearing anything out of Kip Lewis that would lead us to believe that he would be Danny level, and we can't compare him. That's the wrong way to go about it. But you do have to think about who's going to fill that role if you're trying to be that same defense or even better. But going on to the DB room, And looking back into the safety role, Billy Bowman's hard to replace. He's kind of a ball hawk. He comes down fast and meets guys down at the line of scrimmage, and that's really hard to find. I do think we have guys that would be capable of filling that role. I think Peyton Bowen is very well capable of filling that role and being that guy. But then you've got guys like Michael Boganowski, even Robert Spears Jennings, who would be able to step up. And RSJ, I think, is even another guy that has shown that he can be a vocal leader. Kendall Dolby too. Kendall Dolby has been a vocal leader this offseason, and he might be the next, true defensive leader. I don't know. I'm really excited to see who steps up to be like, I feel like Oklahoma's always had that guy of somebody who's that vocal leader for their unit. You've got the guy on offense and you've got the guy on defense. Danny Stutzman was the guy for the entire team, hyped up everybody, got everybody going. So I just don't think you can bring that, but you can get guys that can step up on one side or the other. So it's going to be interesting. Who's going to be that next man up? And can Oklahoma's cornerback room, can they improve, and will they be able to have somebody break out the way that Eli did last season to keep that cornerback room looking good and looking healthy this upcoming season? Overall, defensive ceiling in the SEC, and taking a look at what Oklahoma, what was able to do last season, are they able to really stand up with the SEC elites, Alabama, LSU, Georgia? Are they able to stay up there and be that defensively strong team like these other teams that are known for that in the SEC? And I really think so. I think Brent Venables' scheme, I've seen at times it feels like he kind of mixes like a 4-2-5 is what he usually runs, but it's like a 4-3 hybrid. So maybe it's like a multiple defense, kind of like that, maybe like a 4-2-5 multiple. I don't know if that's what you'd call it. But he does have a unique way of kind of shifting that defense around to making it look like different schemes at times. And it might just be my eyes, the way that I'm seeing the game. Maybe I'm just seeing it wrong too, which is totally in the realm of possibility. But I think what makes Brent Venables' defenses so stout and able to be at the top of the SEC year in and year out is just that, he's able to exploit SEC offenses like Alabama that we saw last season. He's able to get back there and disrupt them. I think he did a really good job. I think that the defensive game plan against Tennessee was really good. Tennessee's got a high-powered offense, and Oklahoma really slowed them down a lot. Of course, the offense gave them the ball in scoring position multiple times. But you look at mobile QBs. You look at, I think Nico Iamaleava was one of them. Specifically, Jalen Milroe. That's the one that you can look at. And I don't know that Oklahoma will face another quarterback, at least this season. Take that back. Maybe Bryce Underwood from Michigan. I don't know. I'm just going to have to see what he's capable of. I don't think he's going to be as much of a threat as far as athleticism and how well he's able to just move all over the field, get from side to side, break through tackles, big guy as Jalen Milroe. And Oklahoma shut him down, specifically Danny Stutzman. And I think it was the first offensive play for Alabama when Danny Stutzman met him right at the line and just bam, right there on time, on target, and put him down. That was the tone setter of the game. So we don't have Danny Stutzman anymore, but the scheme that Brent Venables runs is very good for shutting down those mobile QBs, which we're going to see a little bit from Oklahoma and what they're going to have to face this upcoming season. And I also think with the depth that Oklahoma keeps on adding to their roster, I think that's another key to how Oklahoma is going to be able to perform in the SEC when we're talking about longevity and what they're able to do. So definitely something to look forward to there, and what they're able to stack on and how much they're able to rotate guys in and out. I think that's what's extremely important. We just talked about the defensive line and how deep that defensive line is, the cheetah position, how deep that cheetah position is with Sammy, with KD, And I'm trying to think. I feel like there's one more in there that I'm probably forgetting. But I think overall, when you look at this defense, I don't think depth is a problem, and they're adding on it on top of that depth with the recruiting that they're out there doing right now. And you can see that with some of the commits that Oklahoma has already secured, verbal commits. But then you've also seen it with just the guys that they're going after and the guys that they're scheduling visits with, which we'll talk about more as they come up. So yeah, I think Oklahoma is going to be just fine, especially talking about longevity. But I'll leave us off with this: can Oklahoma's defense carry this team to a 9+ win, a 9+ win season in this upcoming season in the SEC? Not just in the SEC, but can Oklahoma win 9 or more games with this defense, specifically the defense that they've got going into 2025? And I don't see why they couldn't expect 9 or more wins when you're looking at just the defensive side of the ball. I broke down the offense. I believe that was last week. I broke down the offense and John Mateer being added to that offense. Jaden Ott, specifically Ben Arbuckle's offense. I broke down Ben Arbuckle and why I think he can succeed as an offensive coordinator. I believe that was last week. So go check that out. And when you look at the offense and how much better it should be because it can't get any worse, and then you mix that in with how good this defense should be because they're not losing out on enough to really make it worse than they were last season, and there's a possibility that they're even better this season. There's a possibility. Then why couldn't this defense carry this Oklahoma team? Now the key piece in all of this is, one, injuries, and two, offensive performance and how well they click. That's going to be the main thing. You don't even have to score a lot if you're on offense, and we talked about this a lot last season. You don't have to score a lot on offense, but you just have to maybe take a little bit of time off the clock. There's little things like that the offense can do that can really help the defense out. So that's definitely something to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to the defense in 2025. I think Oklahoma's got that defense that can lead them to victory. I think last season that was a defense. I mean, if there was ever a national championship contending defense that didn't get to showcase that national championship contender uh, ability because of the offense, it was the 2024 Oklahoma team for sure. The offense just drove this Oklahoma team down in the dirt time and time again last season, and that's obvious. That's very clear. So hopefully this offense can be a little bit better. And if that's the case, then I don't know why anyone would really doubt this Oklahoma defense. But I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the live chat. If you guys have questions, concerns, jump over there real quick. I will take a look through the live chat. I've been kind of peeking over at it as I'm trying to talk here a little bit. I do see it looks like we've just got a couple of residents in here, Jimmy Satterfield and Mars Jams. What's up, guys? Jimmy Satterfield says the Wilson hire should help Venables in game coaching situations. Yeah, I think Wilson will help, but I think he's going to help more on the offensive side of the ball. He's an offensive coach. If you're talking Kevin Wilson, I think that's the case. Mars says Texas fans are delusional. I'm assuming you're probably thinking of one of two things, because Texas beat Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series. Delusional over that, or you're thinking for this upcoming season, thinking that Arch Manning, Heisman winner, that they're going to go back and be able to win a national championship this season. Who knows? Let me see. Scroll through here on the chat. Jimmy says the defense will be legit this year, especially if Gentry Williams can stay healthy. Yeah, that may be the biggest coin flip of the season. If Gentry Williams can be healthy, how much better will this defense be with him being healthy and getting a significant amount of reps? That could be like a huge turning point where this defense goes from, we know that they're going to be able to stop the run, and there's some concerns with the linebackers, but I think the most concern with the linebackers is just communication, the way that Danny did. That's really the only concern that I have with that middle group, with that second level. As far as the secondary and talking about them, Gentry Williams could be the make or break on the secondary, and they weren't bad last year. It was just some inconsistencies. It was usually chunk plays. It wasn't that they were allowing a lot of little plays, that they were letting up a lot of underneath stuff or anything. It was just that there was a big play here, a big play there, a 20-yard play here, a 30-yard play there. So I mean, that's exactly what it was. So I think I think Gentry Williams could be like more of a pivotal role this upcoming season than I'm even thinking about it now that I really dive into that. So that's definitely something. Going back to Mars, he says, I heard fans and players say he's not that good of a coach, but he's a good hype man. He does believe in watching film. And I'm going to have to look back. I'm not sure if you're talking Brent Venables or maybe Jay Valai. Yeah, regardless, I think every single one of the guys, honestly, I've heard it from the mouths of the players. They love the coaching staff. There's not really a single guy on the coaching staff that they don't truly enjoy. Now, you could say, of course, the players are going to say that they're playing for that guy. They're not going to say something that's going to hurt their relationship with their coach. But you really feel that in the locker room. The more you see about these guys, the more that you hear. This is a team that definitely does not. It doesn't have a coach in the system that the players don't really feel confident in. Other than, of course, I think I also have a question on Joe John. If you have a specific question, go ahead and throw that in there. But yeah, I'm kind of with you too, Jimmy. Jimmy even says I'm not sure how JJF is still employed. I get that. Um, I do, and I can't really defend him at all. I will defend Bauer Sharp to an extent because I think a lot of the bad plays just were overwhelmingly bad, that they took away anything good that Bauer Sharp did. I don't think Bauer Sharp is as bad of a player as many Oklahoma fans want to make him out to be. I saw a lot of potential in him prior to the season. I saw a lot of potential throughout the season. We saw some of that potential come out, but dropping the pass in the end zone against Alabama, flipping the ball up and throwing an interception that kills you, absolutely kills you against LSU. There's several other ones, and he does. He missed a couple of blocks here and there. There's some stuff like that. But as far as Joe John Finley, yeah, uh, we'll see with this upcoming recruiting class. We'll see. I think that's going to be maybe the last straw with him. There's a couple of guys that he could pick up that could really change our minds about him. And there's also a couple of guys that he could miss on and solidify what a lot of Oklahoma fans feel about Joe John Finley. I think Joe John Finley is it's going to be interesting to see with him. I don't know. I don't want to talk poorly about a coach, but that's definitely the one coach that you have a difficult time. If you look back at his resume, what he's done at Oklahoma, you have a difficult time trying to back him up. You have a difficult time trying to defend him. He's not done the best of jobs here at Oklahoma. But that's all I've got for you guys. I want to tell you guys that I appreciate you for tuning in, especially the two guys that were really jumping heavy in on the chat. If you watch on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, uh, go over to the YouTube channel, hit like and hit subscribe. If you would hit the notification bell if you haven't already, because what that will do is we'll notify you and remind you when we do go live. This channel goes live on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Sooner Smiths with Chad and Tierney Smith. And then again on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, here on Oklahoma Sooners Live with yours truly. And then again, this Thursday is going to be the first ever live call-in show. I am going to have Mark Rogers on with me. He's going to talk a little bit about his book, which I'm very excited to talk about. He's the founder of Voice of College Football, the man that got all of this started, the man that got me on here, really Jackson from the Alabama channel. He's the one that reached out to me to get me going. But I'm going to have Mark on to talk on Thursday, and I'll also take live call-ins, so you guys will be able to voice your opinion on the show and bring that out to me. So Again, appreciate everybody for watching, for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Go check out everything that we've got going. You can follow me on social media, X, formerly known as Twitter, at Real Josh Mahler, the voice of college football on Instagram, Facebook, X, all that fun stuff at the VOCFB. Check us out on social media. Keep up with everything that we've got going here at the network. Again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.